Respect. Fuck. Do you game, Adrian? Yeah. We'll pick that up in a second. In a second, we'll get there.
Team Fortress 2, Overwatch.
Oh, were those your big games?
Call of Duty Zombies. I want to get better at Apex. I really do. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really play that many video games lately. I used to play a fuck
I mean,
ton
as you
of
get older, the
Minecraft.
less time you have, right?
That is true. I did used to play a fuckload of Minecraft though. Like I used to go to the library every day and just spend 2 hours just raiding the LAN parties of people, like other kids that were there that were trying to create their own worlds and make their own villages, and I would just show up and just fuck everything up.
Just
for
be
everyone.
a piece of shit. I love that. Fuck, I miss my zap. God damn it.
What do you play?
I play a lot. Usually multiplayer games. I've been playing Apex a little bit. I'm not remotely good though. I just made silver in ranked. I'm gonna lose this game. Fucking end it. Whatever. Alright.
Let's fucking go. Welcome to Galaxy Express with Alton and Audrey.
Word, man. Nice to be here, man. Nice to get this started.
Man, like, we've been talking a lot about how we just have so much we want to fucking talk about, whether it's anime, manga, stories, or just
Everything. Cover
general
everything.
things.
Shit.
So I'm very excited that we actually have started something here. Yeah, as I'll cover over later, these are all things that we have a common interest with. We talk a lot about some fantasy authors such as Brandon Sanderson, or mangakas like Urasawa. And,
Yeah, people, I don't remember the names. I'm so bad with names. I wish I knew everybody I've read, because I probably read a lot of works that I could relate to these authors, but I really don't remember most of them.
Man, we gotta learn some Japanese, man.
Yeah.
Let's learn some Japanese and blow this fucking podcast up to the point that we can actually bring
Yeah, I mean,
some mangakas on. That would be the
dude,
fucking journey.
the goal would be able, obviously, to speak to any of these people. These are all just fucking crazy creators. I don't know. I still don't know how, like, Japan's such a peaceful country, and I guess maybe it's just because of, like, how long of their culture, but I don't know how they came up with they've come up with some fucking warped shit. I don't know. I'm a huge fan. I mean, when did you start getting into anime, Adrian?
I think when I was 12, almost 9 years ago, my first actual anime that I ever watched was One Piece. Back when it had almost 700, 800 something episodes.
Did you start off in English, or did you watch?
No, I full on Japanese. Like, I've seen videos about the 4Kids dubbing, and it
Yeah, it was
just
brutal.
makes me want to cry.
That's what I watched.
That's the Sanji lollipop instead of
Yeah.
the fucking cigarette. I'm crying. The way they censored it, or the changing of the food. Those really nice rice looking sushi with what was it, like burgers? Like burgers and stuff.
Yeah, and they replaced, like, all the guns with water pistols and shit. Water guns.
pistols.
Yeah.
Wait, this is very specific, but do you remember when that one character, I think it was Helmeppo, the blonde dude, was
Mhm.
holding Kobe's hostage with a gun? Do you remember what they changed it to in the dub?
No, man, this is going way back.
This weird fucking hammer with a springboard.
Oh, they just
don't move,
photoshopped
I'm gonna
over it?
whack-a-mole.
Let me find
I'm
that.
gonna whack-a-mole your friend. Oh my god. Yeah, just look up
4Kids. I guarantee if you look up 4Kids One Piece anything, you're gonna find just
Kobe.
disgusting shit. Let me look at these images. Oh yeah.
There we go! Oh no! Like,
It's even got a trigger.
it does. So, like, I don't know, it's surprising because I don't know if 4Kids is an American base
I gotta turn this around. There's no
translating
way.
team.
Let me see if I can
Like
fucking get this in there.
I will definitely bring up the image on the fucking thing for everyone to see.
I don't even know you can see this shit, but it's disgusting.
It's so bad.
I don't know. I don't see why you need to change it.
Or the Luffy versus Don Krieg episode.
Any of it. I mean, I
They
think
replace them just normal bullets with fucking stick-on.
the thing that's crazy with One Piece is that, like, obviously now it's gotten like way more popular in the West, but this is the biggest thing in Japan, like by far. Like peak One Piece in like the 2010s, late 2000s, everywhere.
They had
like
entire
stores, they had exhibits,
cafes.
everything was like dedicated. One Piece was everywhere, marketed everywhere. It was the biggest thing in Japan by far. So like millions and millions of copies of like each manga volume. It was ridiculous. But then it came over to the US, and the first thing they did was it got adapted by 4Kids for the English dub.
Let's take this
And
perfectly
they
good
censored
story
it.
with perfectly good storytelling, imagery, and everything, and change it in ways no one will ever fucking appreciate them for.
But like the thing that's crazy though is that it was just like needless things that they had to change that were incongruous with the rest of the story. Where it was just like they're fighting Marines. It's like for anyone that hasn't read it before or watched it before,
I mean,
it's
think
about like
it. If you fight against Marines, it's perfectly normal to assume that their guns are actually water pistols.
yeah, I mean, I guess an aquatic force maybe. I don't know if they talk to fish too, but
Imagine the Marines just shoot at you with water pellets.
yeah, right. I mean, it's disgusting.
Not like the real life Marines.
Oh yeah, fucking with the super soaker. No man, but like seriously, like what I don't get is that I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this is all those little things are character traits. Like Sanji always having a cigarette in his mouth is who he is. It's like part of the character design. Like you're changing a fundamental part of the show to be more palatable, I guess, for Western audiences.
The lollipop
But like,
man.
can't you just like trust your audience, like the people that are gonna be watching the show? Like, there's no need to sanitize that. I guess it's like rooted in Western culture, maybe like Puritanism, or you don't want to see smoking, or you don't want to show like any cartoon violence. But like, look at Tom and Jerry, all the cartoons. I mean, shit. I grew up on like early Cartoon Network, so that's like when I first got into anything that was like remotely close with animation, like Ed, Ed and Eddie, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Cartoon Network was so fucked up.
You know that one clip of Tom and Jerry, where Tom is rolling up the
Oh, he rolls a cigarette?
with fucking Jerry like in front of
The
this girl.
cleanest, the smoothest motion ever. Just
The
fucking
cleanest roll.
one-handed. He's in cowboy boots. He puts his foot up and just pops it open.
Like, I don't smoke, right? I don't smoke. But that imagery just makes me appreciate the whole aesthetic of it, you know? Or even modern shit, like Peaky Blinders.
I was about to say Peaky Blinders.
They smoke in almost every
scene.
scene. Every scene.
Are those real cigarettes?
No, I think they use those
Like props?
herbal prop cigarettes. They're not that good tasting, but they're far healthier than smoking packs and packs and packs of cigarette.
So
How they used to do in old movies.
yeah. So what are they smoking? Is it like was it just like basically chopped up grass, like in
Not
different
chopped
like
up
weeds?
grass,
Like
it's
you're getting like is it like
definitely-
actually like a nicotine buzz?
Not a nicotine buzz. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of herbal thing. Because, like, I've seen similar things. I don't think that they're smoking CBD cigarettes or anything like that on
They fucking
set.
should.
I've had some. They're very interesting. They really help people cut down on smoking.
Well, I mean, for smoking.
Oh, for, like, skits and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm definitely going to use them like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, because, like, the way I see it is smoking isn't just about, like, the buzz, it's the habit. Like, holding something in your hand.
Having something burning, having, like, the smoke play in front of you.
Literally the action of the smoking is, like, a habit, and it's, like, relaxed. That's why even this, like, I'll hold it like this sometimes. I'll just puff it. I mean, this is fucking fat, though. It's like holding a cigar. I actually had some cigars at home. I wanted to bring them. I forgot them.
I have a few cigars, I think.
Do you?
Cuban cigars, yeah.
Fuck. Have you been keeping them nice?
We've had them, I think, in the same box. My mom went to Cuba and brought, like, a whole box.
Yeah, what you got? A couple Cohibas? Oh, wow. A
Like,
couple Habanos?
the the good shit. Oh my god, the lighting isn't that good here in the front, but
Yeah, it's alright. They get the gist of it. Fuck. These are nice.
I have no thing with which to like chop them up.
Oh,
or
with a
anything.
cutter?
Yeah, but if you want either today or next time you come to try some, I'd be 100% down to have a classy
Oh, yeah.
cigar podcast session.
If I wasn't hungover, I would have brought some of this drink.
Let's go. I'm gonna leave them here on the side next to William Shakespeare.
Yeah, keep it nice and classy. So, what do we got going on here? Let's.
Oh yeah, so here is just a collection of different works which either I want to talk about or things that have some kind of special meaning or significance to my life. Like here I have my favorite fantasy author, Brandon Sanderson. You've read a lot of his works. I've read most of his books. I haven't read some of like his other works like The Rhythmist and stuff like that. And Mistborn was one of the first books that I read that my best friend gave me before I moved to the USA. And I just loved everything about it, like the world building, the characters, the dialogue and stuff. And he quickly became one of my probably my favorite fantasy author, right there with Tolkien and shit. But his world building is just on a new level, and the leather bound books that he releases every so often, they're just so aesthetic. I want to collect all of them and have them.
That's the dream, bro. Get a full fucking collection of everything.
Take them with me to the grave, man. I'm not
Bro,
getting
bury
these
me in a
right.
mausoleum of my favorite stuff, bro. That'd be sick.
I'll be reading my favorite things all the way.
Imagine
until,
being buried in like a tomb, and your tomb is like air sealed, everything, and you just got like whatever you wanted to take to the grave. Basically, like I guess like a modern day pyramid would be freaking sick.
Bro, you have all the pharaohs burying themselves with gold and artifacts. And
Yeah, and meanwhile we got like
that.
our favorite fucking
And I'm
fantasy
just burying
authors and
myself with my favorite mangas and my favorite books. Honestly, though.
I saw that there's like if something dies and its bones are located in like really rich silica, then the fossils become opal, like it opalizes. I have to look it up now because I think I might be full of shit.
Can you make
Because that would be
things with it? Can you make like shapes or?
It's probably like I don't think it's a short period of time.
Oh,
it's like fossilization.
long term.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fossilize things in shorter times with certain experiments and stuff, but what's it called? Like I remember doing a bunch of these old experiments in a box, you know, where you make crystals or strange things like that.
Okay, how do opalized fossils form? You know, for an anime manga, whatever podcast, for 10 minutes and I'm already looking up how to turn my shin to opal bones.
I want to turn myself into a tree.
Oh, being buried under a tree?
No, not into a tree. You know, like the things where they put you in a fetal-ish position in this biological bag and fill it up with some kind of dirt, and you use yourself as fuel.
Yeah, you turn yourself into like a fertilizer.
You turn yourself to a fertilizer for a specific tree that you choose.
Ah.
So I either want to turn myself into like a strong like olive tree and go on some Greek island, or into another type of tree that I can't specify right now.
Yeah, I wonder which tree, bro.
Lemons.
Okay, yeah, lemon tree?
Lemon tree.
Yeah, I want to be an olive tree, bro. Turn me to some nice olive oil.
Dude, I gotta, next year in the summer, when I take this podcast with us to Greece, we're
Yeah.
gonna go to this one island called Kirapanaya. There are these really, really, really old olive trees. We're talking hundreds of years old.
Okay.
That have been facing these very strong winds for centuries.
So they just like warped?
Warped. They have been gnarled and twisted into these bizarre and cool shapes. It's unbelievable.
Really?
It's like I have never seen trees like that, man. Like they're old, but they're also just the way they've been styled over time is just insane to look at.
Dude, Mother Nature wins. You see crazy stuff. I mean, like, even think about stuff like look at mangroves. They're literally just trees that have learned how to spread their root system across shallow waters and like sap nutrients and form basically just like natural shelters and buffers against wind and erosion. And just like, how the hell is a tree forming that environment?
It's
That's
not
so
a good
hostile.
environment for them, but life
Well, I mean,
finds a way.
life finds-
Life finds a way.
I mean, that shit's crazy. It blows my mind that like we seek out fiction, and we're like, wow, like all these worlds these authors create are so interesting, and then sometimes I feel like you get so lost in the fiction, you turn a blind eye to how crazy reality is. It escapes a lot of people.
Two quick things. One, they have found life in places where you wouldn't think life can exist. Like so deep underwater, there's not a smidgen of sun. And just through heat and volcanic activity, they have found things living there and building communities.
Aren't those
in complete darkness?
Yeah, aren't those like archaeobacteria?
There's a lot of these different kinds.
Look, I think they feed off like arsenic. Like it's actually like just magma vents just spew out hot
They
gases.
literally eat whatever chemicals they have in front of them. It's incredible. Like whatever strange setting, whatever dangerous realities around you, life in different forms finds a way, and I found that really cool. And what was the second thing that I want to talk about? Right, you said cool worlds that are just found in nature, right? I remember seeing this one documentary, and it showed I think it was inside of a coral, a labyrinth inside of a coral. They put this tiny camera through it with a tube, right? And there lived a community of
like microorganisms
of
shrimp?
tiny shrimp. A community of tiny shrimp in a labyrinth of coral. Already a cool enough imagery, right?
Okay, so it's like a coral reef?
Yes.
Okay.
But then a big ass fucking worm attacks them. And the camera is there capturing all of this. Worm. Bro, just imagine the imagery of this if we scale it up to this size, right?
Oh yeah, man, that's what I'm trying to say. Is this like one piece of coral and like within the
It's
coral?
a big piece of coral.
Okay.
Relatively big, and in there
And
are
so,
the
like,
shrimp.
Okay, so like within this coral, like tunneling around inside of it, are these like just like micro shrimp?
Kind of like ants in a.
Oh, okay. So I'm trying to figure out the scale. Like that small?
Probably pretty small like that. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a pretty.
Yeah, right. Just a massive
big-
tree of a coral.
I mean, I've seen some big sea worms, man. But already,
Really?
like, yeah.
I have no idea what a sea worm even looks like.
Man.
Yeah, I was-
Deep sea gigantism. It's a scary thing. You know that? What's it called? What do they call like those little insect-like thingies that roll into a ball?
what, roly polies?
Kinda. I think they might be roly-polies.
It's like a type of beetle.
They range up like usually this big, right?
Yeah, they're not really big at all.
Well, deep sea gigantism causes some of them to grow to like this big.
Oh yeah, like isopods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they grow ridiculously big. That's how you also get giant squid, giant sharks, giant whales. I mean, whales are already pretty big, but you get the point.
Yeah, and then there's like the opposite of like island dwarfism, where like everything that grows on an island, with the exception I think of reptiles.
I've seen entire communities of sea water organisms live in just tiny bowls of water that were trapped deep into land. It's
Yeah. But, like,
crabs, shrimp, tiny thing. Tiny
Yeah, that
fish,
they just exist in this tiny
carnivores.
little pocket in a pond that got deposited. I mean, that's how they think, like, lemurs got to Madagascar and stuff like that, and they think that's how the coconut got over to the Caribbean, was that originally came from Asia, and they just bobbed along the water, possibly, and then that's how it got spread over into the Caribbean, which is, like, the most Caribbean way like a fruit can ever come around, where it's just like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna chill in this water and wash up on foreign land. You know, wherever I go, man. You never know. And then now it's synonymous with the Caribbean and tropical environments, where maybe I think it came from Asia. I don't know. I'm talking half out of my ass, but like the island dwarfism thing is crazy, where everything grows smaller. People, animals. There was like the pygmy elephant or like the dwarf elephant. And then there was like the pygmy dwarf, I think, where it was actually like a small human being that existed like a few 10,000 years ago or so, like really recent, that there was just these little tiny organisms going around, and we take that for granted.
Like, people adapt. Not just people. People in life adapt to their surroundings. Like the people that lived high in the mountains, the Incas and such, they developed big lungs. Like physically, they were bigger than most other people's.
Yeah.
Because they were so high up and they needed to just get so much more in.
Oh, okay.
And there are tribes of people, I forget where, I forget exactly where, but they are deep sea divers, and for generations they've been diving for a living, collecting, I think, whether it's
shellfish,
sponges or shellfish, and either things to sell or eat. And they can breathe underwater. They can.
They can reduce
hold
like
their
the heart rate.
They can hold their breath underwater for so long. We're talking minutes.
That's crazy,
right?
Well, I mean, like free divers, like competitive free divers, all that kind of stuff. They can do like 10 minutes underwater.
That, but to the point where it's genetic.
Oh,
where
okay.
they have
Like they just have a disposition. Okay, that's okay. So like, due to their environment or whatever, they've developed like this innate capability just to hold their breath longer than the average person. Oh.
I don't know, man. Like sometimes you just find that. Like I have traveled in so many places. Like I grew up for 12 years in Germany and then America, and I traveled to Greece and many other places in Europe and such, and I don't know, sometimes you just see the way people live differently and how they adapt to their cultures or their surroundings and such.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's only really recently that we've become so globalized as a world that you can actively go and travel, and then now you see some cultures kind of blending because there's so much exchange going on everywhere. I mean, like, the U.S. is a fucking melting pot. You know what I mean? But, like, you can visit now isolated parts of the world that haven't been seen before. Then there's obviously, like, the indigenous tribes that aren't allowed to be messed with. Like, you have some people deep in the Amazon or some indigenous still that are still, like, I think they probably have firearms and, like, small electricity, maybe generators or something like that. But
have
they don't
you
have
heard
anything.
of the loneliest man in the world?
Is that the guy with, like, the house? No,
not a house. It's quite literally the sole remaining member of a tribe deep in the Amazon forest.
Mm-hmm.
They've all been wiped out except for this one dude, and for 40 miles I think there's just a radius that no one is allowed to enter, and that is where he lives. And we only know that he still lives today because we see him occasionally setting up traps and chopping down wood. But just imagine,
you're just the last of your people.
You're the last of your people, and you live in a radius by yourself, and the only thing you see sometimes are these strange metal flying objects that just come by and leave. How fucking strange of an existence that must be.
I don't know. That's so crazy. I mean, like, when we think about magic, obviously, what is he thinking? Like, he doesn't... The way I see it is that, you know, it's commonly known that technology that's super advanced would appear like magic to more primitive people. Imagine you just brought, like, a guy from the 1400s and you brought him into, like, a nightclub. Like, what... First of all, imagine the sensory overload where this guy walks into a room and there's
all the lasers
and smoke shooting out of nowhere. This guy is controlling this contraption with these two flat discs on it. People are all like drinking these weird potions. Well, like, alcohol is known then, but like people are popping pills, popping like hallucinogenics and stuff like that, and they're going crazy.
Popping Molly in the club.
And you just bring some like riffraff peasant, and you just brought him over there. Imagine what he'd tell everybody when he comes back. He's like, bro, first of all, imagine what EDM would sound like to him. Where like, he's actually never heard a sound that loud in his entire life. Like pure bass, just bumping in his head. I can't imagine.
He takes him back, and they're like, "Oh, the gods have spoken." And it's just, oh man.
Just yeah, Avicii's by like levels by Avicii is just a spell. He's just like they played these weird sounds and everybody started moving a certain way.
Man, if you what's it called?
People have blue hair.
If you could travel back in time and just introduce one certain element of technology or even one song, if we went into that category, like what would it be? To just like without consequence, you're still alive and the people you know are still alive. The world just has changed.
Okay, so you go first because I'm still trying to figure out this question.
Man, I would just introduce Eurobeat way back during the fucking
Like what you bring
what's it called, the
well, like the horse and buggy.
Deja vu, I've just been in this place before. Higher on the street and I know it's my time to go.
Firearms, there's muskets. So he introduced, in Japan at least, the rotation. So he would line the troops up, and while the cavalry charged, one group would fire a volley, and then another group would fill in, fire a volley while the other group reloaded, and then another group would fire, and it'd be a cycle. So it ensured that there was constant firepower, and they're constantly firing at the invading enemies or the approaching enemies. And so what was famous with him was when the Tokugawa cavalry, which was like the most supreme military force in Japan at that time, was leading a charge, and then he pulled out the musketeers. He completely destroyed the cavalry, and that was like one of his most famous moments as a military general. So the way they showed him the show as like a historical figure, and he looks at I think they're communicating with like a crystal ball or something like that, some like magical tool, whatever.
That, but it
Yeah.
just reminded me of a phone, and that
Yeah.
tied into like what you said.
Yeah.
If you introduce such level of technology to someone,
Yeah,
with
someone
that
that
level
knows
of
how to use
strategy,
it. Yeah.
right? Just imagine you gave that to one of the great conquerors of the world. Just imagine
Oh, yeah.
Alexander
Anyone.
the Great with an iPhone.
Yeah. Well, think about how crazy it was to communicate back then, and just like how mankind has like consistently developed new forms of communication. Like the first time people ever learned how to communicate was face to face, me talking to you, you talking to me. And then I think probably like the second thing that would come around is
Letters.
not even like I tell you to deliver a message for me,
Yeah.
and you go to somebody else and deliver it, but you're delivering my message with your inflection, your tone, and it's not the same message. But then after that, there's a written word, and now I can write you a letter.
Stones. They used to
Yeah.
have actual stones that kept
Yeah,
records.
before they even developed papers.
There
like
was
the,
this
like
one
the
dude-
Phoenicians used to write on clay, and the Sumerians.
I have no idea what this dude's name is, but it's some dude that is famous in
the code of
recorded
law?
history for keeping complaints that people had of him
That was
stashed.
I think that was Babylonian. It was
It was
a businessman.
stones. It was a
Babylonian
businessman.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
Babylonian businessman. Also, yeah, Nobunaga was 1551 to 1582. So
Yeah.
only like
Oh, yeah, you were right
500,
on it.
400
16th
years.
century.
Like it wasn't that long ago. But what was it?
What are we talking about?
What was I talking about?
Fuck.
Fuck. We were talking about
Okay, so we went from
Japanese strategist to conqueror.
Babylonian guy.
Babylonian guy, right? Babylonian guy.
Aya Nasir.
Nasir. Wait,
Is that it? I
his
don't know.
name sounds familiar for some reason. Nasir. Nasir.
I really don't know how, like,
Yeah,
Yep.
complaint tablet to Nasir.
that's so funny. That the oldest, like, some of the oldest writing we have is someone just bitching and moaning about something.
It's classic, man. There's still not tattoos, graffitis. Graffitis on Pompeii. I think it's on Pompeii.
you could probably find, yeah.
That are
ancient
very
graffiti.
that are very much the same things you'd find today.
Honestly, I think the nature of people really hasn't changed. I mean, think about it. If you kidnap, like, if, not even, let's not go there. But if you or I were born back in whatever time, 14th century, we're not gonna, and we grew up in that environment, in that society with their values, you think we're gonna grow up with, like, 21st century values? Of course not. We're gonna be just like however they were there. But yeah, so someone's scribbling dicks on a wall in Pompeii.
Yeah, there's a bunch of dicks, and this one. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, people don't change. We all do the same shit.
Bro, it's just insults and sexual jokes.
I'm glad
It's-
humor's kept its spirit throughout
Humans-
throughout the
Humans
millennia.
really haven't changed that much. What has changed is our methods of communication and
Yeah.
overall societal values. Like,
Absolutely, and even bringing that forward, think about what came after the written word. So then after that, now you have like recorded information, which is you stepped into a whole new thing. I think writing was probably predominantly for the longest time the most common form of communication, and I think what came after that was probably what, like the telegram
for long distance, yeah.
for long distance communication, and then afterwards was what, radio.
I think it was. They had carrier pigeons around the same time.
Yeah, but that's I think that files along in with like recorded information.
That fouls a lot.
Yeah.
God damn it. Wait.
Yeah. So you have recorded information, looking at like telegraphs, audio. Now all of a sudden on radio, I can communicate to you my exact intent, my exact inflection, live to you, and you can respond back to me live. But prior to that, like think about it, with only recorded information, at best you can exchange letters. If you're going on like a journey, like think about in ancient Britain when the United Kingdom was at its peak and people only communicated with letters. What if you're a soldier stationed in India, at the colony of India at the time, and you're writing a letter back to your wife or something? Like, what's the time lag in that? You have like what, 3-month discrepancy, if not more. It probably just takes 3 months just to get there. You're basically living separate lives from the people in your life, and how valuable that time you have is to talk to each other. But then
Man, imagine.
now I can just FaceTime you.
And he ran so hard for such a long time that he got there, he said his message, and then he died. Right? Just imagine he had a phone just says, oh,
Yeah, right.
well,
He just
an attack is coming.
he just shoots a Snapchat. It's like, yo man, watch out.
Just calls up on Discord.
Right? Yeah, he's like, oh, the Persians are coming, whatever was going on there. Because I know, like, the Battle of Marathon is, like, one of the greatest stories within Greek history. And that was, like, the
There's a
Greeks
lot,
against
but
the
yeah.
Persians invading. I don't know. I got that from Dan Carlin on his podcast. You ever listening to
I have
Hardcore
not.
History?
I have not.
Oh my god, dude. This guy, he doesn't call himself a historian because he feels like he's not at a degree of perfection to be a historian, but he just recites almost like an oral history, like a performance, all these different historical events. So like the series that I binged was the Spartan one, and all he does is guys talks about the Spartans, and then he talks about the Spartans for like maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes as this is what he wants to capture. And the next thing you know, he's talking about like ancient Babylonia and how they came about and how like they formed through hundreds of years into Persian society that clashes with the Spartans. Crazy. And just,
This does look nice. I might just binge some of this.
oh, absolutely. What are you watching right now? Are you watching or reading any anime or manga right now?
I mean, I'm waiting for the next volumes of everything. I'm waiting for the next volume of One Piece. I'm waiting for the next volume of what is it? Fuck. Just slipped my mind. There's a bunch that I've been reading lately, and I'm waiting for the next and probably last chapter of Berserk. Sad.
Let's give some context to that one.
Sad, right? So there are over 360. There's 363 chapters of Berserk out. Berserk is one of, if not the best manga I have ever read. The art style is incredible. The story is just fantastic. It's one, again, if not the best dark fantasy story that I or most people have ever read. It is incredible. And unfortunately, a few months ago, the writer passed away. And yeah, and the entire fan base is at a loss as to what's going to happen to this story that has been going on for 30 years or so. It was nearing some form of ending, and the moment where it left off is kind of a good transition point that can feel like an ending, but many people are still very much wondering, you know, like, what the fuck is gonna happen now to this story, you know? And yeah, and now they said that the last chapter that he probably wrote, and it's just been sitting there, 364, is going to be released in September. And I am looking forward to it, but I'm also very much sad about it, because if it just makes me ask more questions, then I'm gonna be at a loss of where the story's gonna go. Like, I've heard that he has left behind notes and things of where he wants the story to go or how he wants it to end, but I don't think that it should continue as a manga. I don't think that his assistants have experienced enough.
I just think that his whole soul's in there.
Yeah, like, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, you know, like the body's dead, but you're just like moving it with like the electrical signals, but the brain's no longer functioning. Like the soul's not there anymore.
Yeah, but like, for one of the characters, they released a light novel, and it worked good. It established his backstory.
Yeah, and what is a light
questions.
novel? Like, what is a light novel? We should break that down too.
In
terms of like
the Grunwald one.
Well, yeah, and not even that. Just like, what is like the medium of a light novel?
Oh, a light novel is just a light novel. A light novel, it can be anything from a few chapters to a bunch of 100 pages. That can really be filled with a lot of things. For example, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Purple Haze light novel. That one gave a lot more story to a character that was written halfway out the show. You know, like, that one gave a lot nicer context, and even though people say, oh, it's not canon because it was written by not the author himself, like, it's not exactly canonical in the overall story, but it provides something more to it. Yeah. But in this case, if the source material is by the same man who has the same idea, that is not going to take an already existing story and bastardize it to capitalize on it because they just want to be finished making it, D&D, you know, like, if they have all the source material, they can do a pretty nice light novel that's going to wrap up the ending and maybe have a few character drawings of moments or characters to add flesh to it, you know? But for them to continue the story as a manga, I find that extremely unlikely. It just wouldn't feel the same, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Miura, the guy that wrote the manga, created the manga, he was like so meticulous in everything that he did. Like, each page of that manga is like crafted. He did everything top to bottom, and didn't he get begged to have assistance because his pace was so slow? Like, Berserk is a series that's been going on since what, the 80s? Like 89 it came out?
It's been 30 years.
Yeah, it's just a fucking anthology of like a dark series. It's crazy. I think Berserk was one of the first manga I ever read. And just to give insight into what a manga is just, you know, Japanese comics, but they're black and white, typically. Some are colored, but usually they're printed in like these large monthly releases by a publishing company that contains a bunch of different works that are serialized by the company. But manga typically, obviously in Japanese, you read right down and then to the left down, right?
Yeah, it is the opposite. Instead of opening up the book this way, you open it up this way and read it essentially the other way around.
Yeah, and then you go right to left.
Right to left, but top and down.
Right to left, then down, then right to left, then down.
For some people, it can be a little bit confusing at first to get into reading manga because of this, but I feel that if you give into it and after a few pages, it becomes like second nature.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It gets kind of hard to not do it after a while. Like, I'm going back into reading not American comics, but American comics and things that are in normal
Yeah, that are written like in how we write in the U.S. in
Yeah.
Western culture.
And I read it like it's a manga.
Yeah, you start with the right page. Whenever you switch, like flip flop between the two, always gets me. I mean, I wasn't into like I didn't start reading manga until after I was like a fan of anime for the longest time. For me, like anime started for me with Toonami. Like anyone that watched Cartoon Network was exposed to anime because the guys at Cartoon Network were just like crazy animators that just loved animation, creating cartoons and doing whatever they wanted. That's why you saw like all these different crazy like aesthetic series that still hold up today, like Samurai Jack, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Just like shows that they're nothing alike. They don't have like, I don't feel like there's an agenda with the show. They're just doing whatever they wanted to do. And what Cartoon Network did that turned out to be like a genius move now was that they had like all this free time late at night, that they had like late night slots, like 2 a.m. slots, 4 a.m. slots that were just open, and you know, they played infomercials and stuff like that. But rather than license like some American show that was really expensive to run it, they were like, hey dude, like guys, like we're all anime fans, we fuck with anime, let's just get some anime licenses and just put up anime at these like hours that are dead, because anime licenses were dirt cheap. Nobody watched anime in the US. Anime wasn't a thing. Anime was like, you know, a Japanese product for Japanese people, and they started licensing shows, and that's when you started having Naruto come over, DBZ come over, Dragon Ball Z. You had Bleach come over, all these big like famous series that were huge in Japan that weren't brought anywhere else, and that's when they blew up. And that's when Toonami came out, and they would have like an anime hour, and those were the shows I used to watch. So like for me, I think the first shows I got into that was that type of aesthetic animation from Japan anime was Dragon Ball Z when it first started airing, Naruto, One Piece, like all the big popular series. And I didn't revisit that until I think freshman year. Yeah, I think it was like freshman year or 8th grade, and I had iFunny. And I don't know if anybody had iFunny or remembers iFunny,
Saw
but
the memes.
yeah, it was just the original spot on your like iPhone 3. I had like the iPhone 3GS, and that would pop up, and you just look at the memes. It was like the dream to get onto the featured page by creating your own memes. All those old garbage, like they look disgusting now, but back then those were the best memes we had. And I found one guy had like a meme featured, and I just clicked on his profile, and like he had one meme, but everything else he had was just anime posts. And so they were all like different series, and there's some GIFs, so they have like clips of animation. And I was like, these look fucking sick. I was like, why don't I watch these? And so he would just have the title in there, and so that's when I first started getting back into it, was that I would go on this guy's page on iFunny, and I would watch whatever show was on that page. And it just, I binged every show, whatever he had. And when eventually I exhausted all the shows that were on his page, I watched like 20 anime series. I don't even remember their names anymore. Like stuff like Darker Than Black, like like mid 2000s, early 2000s series. And I was watching all those, and once that ran out, I was like, where can I find more? And that's where I'll start hopping on forums, like My Anime List, for anyone that doesn't watch anime or wants to watch anime or wants to watch new anime. My Anime List has literally just like an encyclopedia of anime shows and manga as well, and they have like they have recommendations, they have like whole list of popularity, list for ratings, and Anime News Network, which is where I would, when I was really deep in the cut and I was getting super into it, I would read like every day. I would read like the new articles that would come out. They would talk about new anime. They would shine a spotlight on old anime that were classics. They would interview a creator, and I went neck deep in that shit.
Bro, any behind the scenes info about the process of making it or anything? Like, have you seen Akira?
Akira, yeah.
The behind the scenes of how they made some of the animation for that, for example.
Yeah.
Like that movie, even though it confuses so many people, it blew up in the West in terms of what animation can convey
Yeah.
via film. And wow, like every few years there is something new in anime that comes out that just brings a wave of new fan bases.
Oh,
in
yeah.
20, I think, I don't know when, 16? Or maybe 2012.
Attack on Titan?
One Punch Man and Attack on Titan,
Yeah,
both in the
you get
same season.
double whammy.
Two of the most hype first season animes coming on like that. Oh no, is my light dying? Yeah, two of that. Like
now we got a strobe effect. We're good.
like right off the bat.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they just came out at the same time. Let's look that up because it came out when I was in high school. So I graduated high school 2016. I think it came out like 2012, 2013.
That's season 4 that came out in 2021.
You could look it up, bro. Just fucking first day it came out. I mean,
No. The manga came out in 2009.
Yeah, that's the manga came out. So, just to break it down for a lot of people that are exposed to the anime industry, how the model of anime usually works is that animations, like anime, are usually derived from manga. So manga is like a source material, like a comic. Just like how the Harry Potter movies are adapted from the books, anime is adapted from the manga. Typically, there's anime original content, but those are few and far and a lot rare, just because you're banking on something that's unprecedented and hasn't been tested before. Usually, anime, when they're made, is an adaptation of a pre-existing manga that has gained some popularity, and the anime is a way to capture more audience and drive more people to go to the manga. At least that's how it was originally done. Now, like, anime is blown up so much globally that there's like more anime original content being produced. There's more obscure manga that previously got passed over for an anime adaptation because they weren't money makers, that are now getting stuff just for the artistic value of it. And they're getting new artwork, and they're getting new anime, and they're just adapting it in like a way that's just pure fucking sickness for fans. It's awesome to be a fan right now, to be honest.
The Mob Psycho 100 adaptation.
Yeah.
From what the art in the webtoon looks like, in the webcomic, to how they turned it into animation, that is one of the best examples of an anime adaptation, because there's so many recent anime adaptations of just phenomenal manga that just tear my heart apart. Have you seen the Record of Ragnarok anime?
Yeah, it's fucked up.
A travesty.
Fucked up.
A travesty. Some of the best fights I have ever read in all of manga. Adam versus Zeus, as another YouTuber put it, was meant to break the internet when it was animated. That's how fucking powerful the punches and how cool the art is.
How they convey everything.
And I watched it recently on Netflix just because I caved in. I'm like, how bad can it possibly be? And I never felt more bored. It was just so painful. Like, if you're going to do an anime adaptation, you gotta do an adaptation. You don't just copy paste frames, fill them with drab colors, and make them move from A to B. You need to do something. You need to do something with the movement, something with the sounds. Like, it's like when David Productions messes around with the color palette in JoJo's, or messes around with the soundtrack to make it relevant in other scenes. That's good adaptation. But when you just cut moments from the original material because it would just be too long, or because you think that it doesn't fit in with the pacing, but then just do mediocre animation, it's so disheartening, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the way you see it with anime adaptations is that sometimes they just fucking ship it and they just do it. And it sucks to see, especially because sometimes you'll watch an anime and you're like, this is pretty good, and you'll, for whatever reason, like for me, like the way I found out about most manga, or that I really found about manga in general, was like I would watch an anime and I'll say, I wonder like what the reaction online is. And so not Anime News Network, My Anime List would have forums, and so on these forums, like it would be episode 21, episode 5, and it'd be people just discussing everything. Or for manga, it'd be like manga chapter 120 thread. And so I would hop on these threads and just see conversations, and there would be people that just watched the anime and were like, this is okay, this episode's whatever, like, this is pretty cool plot wise, and then they'd have like a link, and then like this section looks so derpy, and it would just show like how ugly the art was or the animation was of one scene, because animation's all about shortcuts and stuff like that where you can find it, just like any movie is, or any fiction is. And there would be fans of the show that had read the manga and be like, dude, the manga is so much better, I can't believe they did this to the manga, the way they adapted it. And at first I was like, fuck manga. I was like, I like anime. I was like, I like having the color. I like being able to read it, hear it, and see fluidity of motion, and just like the beauty of what really good animation can do. And then eventually I caved and I read a manga. I can't remember what the first manga I read was. It might have been Berserk. It was one of the first ones, for sure. It might be even the first one.
Speaking of terrible anime adaptations,
Which one? Which one are we going to talk about? There's so many.
the CGIs.
CGI in general, or CGI in certain anime?
No, the 2016 Berserk season.
Yeah, I mean, CGI is here to stay.
Like, it's not that it's bad because it's CGI.
It was just bad CGI.
It was bad CGI because of how bad it was implemented.
Well, yeah, CGI has its uses. So, like, 2D animation, like, back to Akira, like, what was so big about Akira, too, and the way it even affected animation in general was that they animated facial emotions, where it wasn't just, like, eyes, it's like your forehead would wrinkle, the cheeks would
They
lift.
animated everything from the mouth to the nose.
They animated the entire face, but if you look at, like, older anime, like, speaking of the podcast named Galaxy Express, I was watching Galaxy Express 999, which I think came out like 1979.
It's just the mouth.
Yeah,
basically.
it's just the mouse and the eyes. And if you're lucky, I don't even think they had the eyebrows. Maybe they had the eyebrows.
Sometimes they blink.
Yeah, occasionally, right? Like, that's what people were like, oh, this is conveying perfectly the emotion you're feeling. But then you watch Akira, and when they feel pain with Akira, like, their face crinkles. The way they're able to use these lines to convey, like, raw human emotion, I think hit way deeper than anything you really saw before. That's why it changed, I think, from before Akira and post Akira. That's why it's such a legendary anime.
Yeah, no, like, when animators really take advantage of the medium and being able to actually control every frame of how they want the motion to feel. Like, yeah, you can do a cheap and easy animation to just get the movement done with, you know?
Yeah, just try to get some viewers for the manga and that's it. Just like a cheap ad.
But if you put in all the effort to just having the smooth motion and everything in one motion just blending into the next, you can just create these fantastic facial expressions, like in Studio Ghibli movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they do these in a Spirited Away, when Yubaba just makes these grand expressions, you know?
Yeah.
Or in general, like, yeah, some people may cringe at the sight of these great expressions. That's what puts a lot of people off of anime. They're like, oh, I don't like the expressions. They creep me out. I'm like, yeah, but it is expression. It is how they chose to animate how this character expresses himself. Like, in One Piece, for example, the art is wonky sometimes, but that is also what's so dynamic about it. You just have these characters that are over 20 meters tall and their jaws just hit the floor. Is it realistic? No. But does it convey their current emotions? Yeah. You know? So, yeah, it is personal about whether or not you like it, these expressions and how they can vary, but I don't know. I think it's a very nice part of the medium of anime because different artists can choose how much of that to implement.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's also artists that do very reality grounded based characters, styles, and animations.
Yeah, where it looks like more gritty, more real.
The monster anime.
Yeah.
The monster anime has no exaggeration. Because it's a very human story in a very human setting.
Yeah, when's it set up again? It's like set up
It's
with
in
East
Germany,
and West Germany,
like
right?
1950
no, it's right after
something.
East and West.
It's after the Second World War.
Yeah. Okay, so it's before. Mm-hmm.
A few years after, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal story. 1000% recommended. We will do an entire episode on these alone.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like this one, the entire anime is on YouTube. If you just look up Monster the Anime subbed, I recommend it subbed, but the dub isn't that bad. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, all the episodes, 50 something, 60 something, 70 episodes, all on YouTube. And it doesn't feel like an anime. There's no flashy colors. There's no characters expressing.
There's no superpowers.
There's no superpowers.
It's stuff that's
it's
commonly
just
associated
human
with
psychology.
anime.
Even the soundtrack is so minimal and sometimes repeating, but like it's as human as you can get. So when people think of anime and they immediately jump to all these great eyes and big weird
Yeah, like traditional anime aesthetics
things,
that people associate with anime. Yeah.
they ignore that there's just so much more out than just that. Anime has thousands of stories. Thousands.
Oh, like countless. And I mean, the reason why I like anime so much, and I also love movies, like, I mean, honestly, I like everything that has to do with telling a story, stuff like that, books, you name it. But the reason why I like anime so much is that and animation in general is that animation is 100% control. Like whatever you want to tell, you control 100% of the way you want to tell it. Like Kubrick was famous as a live action movie director.
He wanted everything exactly how he wants.
What he was legendary for was like nothing in his movie is by accident or a coincidence. Everything is planned, meticulous, and he's legendary for that. And that's why he's so famous as like a director, and also just the crazy movies that he made. But an animation director, like you always have 100%. You're not dealing with a random bird flying in your shot or an actor not getting the lines you wanted to. The only thing that limits you is your creativity and the skill of your team and your animation studio.
And the scale of exactly what
and also
you
your
want to
budget.
produce.
I mean, financially, you have to think about
true.
that too. Just because, like,
How much did Redline cost?
probably a few million. Like, I think an anime season is typically what, for 24 episode seasons, like what, $1 million, a couple mil for a good anime.
Okay, the budget of the film was $26 million.
Oh,
Dollars.
26 million? Wow.
And it only grossed 6.8 million.
Man,
It's real quick
That's a fucking
a
tragedy.
little bit of context for that one because we're gonna do a full episode on that one, just reacting to it or some shit.
oh,
because
dude, 100%.
it's just so good.
Redline was so fucking good.
It's a movie that they wanted to. They started working on in 2000, and they released in 2007 because it took 7 whole years to produce it.
Animate it, draw it, do the art. Everything.
It took 7 years to draw every frame in the entire movie, and the result is this pop art looking smooth, bizarre tale.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely phenomenal. I showed it to a friend of mine recently, and he immediately was like, I need this movie in my life. How did I never see this before?
Dude, balls to the wall. That movie is like the way you can convey action in anime, like in movies. Rooted in complete fantasy, where it's just like, oh yeah, I go to a high school and we all use magic, and this is what we do. And that's what I think is the beauty of not just anime, but animation in general, because you can do whatever the fuck you want. Whatever you want. And like I said earlier, you're just limited by your capacities. And the better you are, look at what Ghibli did, and how Ghibli changed animation forever. In terms of just how big anime got. Like, there are people I know that don't like anime, but they grew up watching Ghibli and they didn't even know it was anime. Mm-hmm. And that's okay, you don't have to like anime.
It's because so many people, when they think of anime, there's a lot of anime in popular culture, but unfortunately most of the generic stuff that becomes popular
is the stereotypes,
the sexualization, the what's it called? The sheer bizarreness of it all, but they never focus on the intricacies of how good they are or what makes them unique. And that's the thing, when people say, I don't like anime, they think, okay, I've seen a few examples of some people on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and they're too expressive. The colors are weird. The music is off-putting. Yada yada yada. But my man, there are thousands. There are thousands of animes out there, each that tell their own different stories, each that have their own styles and thing. Like Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop is a big one, bro.
Cowboy Bebop
Fucking
doesn't
huge one.
even have a manga. It
No,
doesn't
anime
even have
original.
a manga. It's an anime original.
Was it Shinichiro Watanabe?
Yeah, Watanabe. He's the same one that did Samurai Champloo and Space Dandy. We're gonna do a whole
Oh, I
episode
fucking love
on
Space
all
Dandy.
of these because they're just so fucking good. But basically, he had a vision. He had a story he wanted to tell, and he created one of the best anime to ever exist.
And also, if you like Cowboy Bebop was like a regular show in Japan.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't successful. Was commercially was an okay show. Like,
20-something episodes that rarely had actual relation to one
yeah, pretty
another.
episodic. It wasn't like a conventional story arc until like near the end of the show.
Yeah, but
what I'm saying is that Cowboy Bebop it didn't go far in Japan. Like it wasn't big in Japan at all. Cowboy Bebop when it came over on Adult Swim and it came over on Cartoon Network. When they were showing Cowboy Bebop, it became a massive Western hit, and that was in the early 2000s.
The
was
English
everybody's
dub.
English
the English dub also really
fucking
helped it.
amazing. A good English dub is the best way to do a show, and like for the most part, I'm a sub guy, but there are some anime that we can definitely get into that the dub for an English viewer makes the most sense, and honestly, are legitimately good. But Cowboy Bebop was a huge gateway for a lot of people into anime, but then Cowboy Bebop is so unique in how it was made and like it's standalone and it's
It's
really
hard to find anything really like it.
yeah, exactly, and that's what a lot of people have a problem with because they think that all anime is Cowboy Bebop. but what anime is just a medium to tell a story.
Man, you watch
And whatever story you want to watch, you can watch. But Cowboy Bebop was so unique that people were like, "This is awesome! I want more of this. Is this what anime really is?" And for the most part, it's not. You'll find anime in everything. Like for some reason, because the Japanese are so obsessed with high school and their time in high school, I find myself watching so many anime where like the setting is at a high school and stuff like that, and it'll be a great story.
I
But
think
that's like
there
where I'll
is
see more of that stuff in.
I think there is an explanation to that. I think for a lot of mangaka, some of their best years were in high school, and a lot of Japanese people like collectively.
They really romanticize their youth.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like here, I've been told, oh yeah, like you're gonna look back in time and think, oh, high school were the best years of your life. I can't relate.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky.
But yeah, what you said, they have these scenarios that take place, and often these kinds of situations, assassination classroom.
Yeah.
What if you had to assassinate your teacher because he's this giant monster that's moving at Mach 20 and that will destroy the world? Great anime. You should watch it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to unpack there.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot
So
to unpack
much.
in that one.
So much. But wait, what were we talking about in regards? Oh yeah, just imagine you start watching Cowboy Bebop,
And you think that's everything that
and you
anime
think
is?
that's everything, and then you're like, okay, what else has this director done? And you check out Space Dandy.
Yeah, I mean, he did Space Dandy. I think the closest he ever got to like another Bebop that I've watched at least was Terror and Resonance,
Oh my god.
which is
Oh my God.
which is honestly has been getting some popularity lately. Like anime's been blowing up globally, even more so now. Like for me, one of the coolest things as a fan of anime for so long was that like I love anime, and don't get me wrong, it's like a passion, like it's an interest of mine. I really enjoy it a lot, but it's not my personality. It's something I like to talk about, obviously, but it's not who I am. It doesn't define who I am. But like the problem with anime when it was really niche, and I think is a trap of any niche interest, is that people make it their personality and part of their identity, and it was just such a weird group to interact with. And now like anime is getting more popular and you're seeing it start to come out. I mean like Netflix is one of the most successful parts is anime because Usually anime viewers are a fan of the medium in addition to the show that they're watching. And they're really willing to just like hop across genres or to start a new show. Because typically anime fans in general, because it's a pretty niche interest still, is like you have to be willing to accept some uncomfortability and be open to new things already. So they're already an open viewer base, but they also are just fans of the medium as well, and they'll hop around a bunch of different anime. So Netflix can add on like 50 anime, and people will watch all 50 looking for a new anime to watch just because they want a good anime, not because they want this type of story. They can look for that too, but that's why you see Crunchyroll just got bought. It got sold from AT&T to Sony for like $1.2 billion. And that's an exclusively anime streaming service that has a bunch of licenses for anime, both regional and global. And you're just really going to see anime fucking, it's going everywhere. It's really crazy to see.
It's like the West has realized just the absolute impact and popularity of Japanese anime.
Yeah, like anime is a legitimate cultural export from Japan. For sure.
I'm trying to find the exact page, but I recently saw not a poll, like a statistic that just showed the most popular cartoons and such in the US.
Yeah.
Like written books. The first top 10
like Nielsen
were
ratings and that
basically
kind of stuff?
all Japanese. It was Chainsaw Man, Attack on Titan.
Yeah, dude, like the
all
New York
these
Times
new ones,
bestsellers list, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, 'cause I'm pretty sure they count manga in that, right?
They had so many.
'Cause, like New York Times
blowing
bestsellers
up
have been
more.
There's been a ton of stuff like Attack on Titan was a New York Times bestseller. Naruto, all those guys, they make the list. It's fucking crazy to see. And now I think these shows are finally getting the credit they deserve and the renown that they deserve, because it's just so crazy to see that one person's vision, and then eventually people start with the typical way that a manga starts is that there's an anime, like a mangaka. Okay, so like the Japanese term for a manga creator, and they get picked up by one of their series or something they submit gets picked up by an editor at a publication. Shueisha. What's the other? There's so many.
There's so many.
Shonen Jump is the most popular one. Shonen Jump, and so these publishers will assign an editor to this mangaka, and that's when they start creating their manga. And eventually they get serialized. They get picked up for serialization, and as they get blown up, they can shift from different publishing schedules. So like typically most anime are weekly published, and they're about like 18 pages or so every week per chapter. And for the most part now, I think everybody's got assistants, and once you get big enough, they assign you like assistants to help you do part of the animation or part of the manga creation process. Not actually create the story, that stuff you work over with your editor, but they'll do like the typesetting, or they'll do like some of the layering, some of like the minor details that support the manga, but they're not actually like creating it.
There's so many parts to making.
Yeah, it's a huge process. That's why what's the name of that anime and manga as well, where it's literally about a duo that create a manga?
Ooh, wait.
Bakumen?
There's a few that have that premise, but I think there is
the
one
original.
that is the.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I got it.
But yeah, no, like as someone who wants to also produce a few animes, I want to make a few anime movies
All right.
and at least 2 anime
If you were to
shows.
pick one manga that you could adapt into whatever anime you want,
Manga specific, or do we also?
or you could
manhwas?
manhwa, manga. Manhwa, or is manhwa Chinese, or is it just Korean for a manhwa?
It's mostly Korean, but I'm pretty sure.
And those
there's
are
more.
left to right.
Those are normal.
Yeah,
They are.
those read left to right.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting that you hop from Japan, they read right to left, and then you just literally just go
a little bit over to Korea,
to the Korean peninsula, and they're left to right. Interesting.
I don't know, but yeah, in terms of manhwa, you know exactly which one. Helper. Gonna do an entire episode on that one. Helper is one of the most unique stories I have read. If you download Webtoon, you can easily read it for free. It's incredible, but I would love that as an anime because it's simple design and dynamic colors and just mind-boggling action scenes. There is a tiny video on YouTube, like 20 seconds long, that show a fan animation of one of the fights going on. Just a few frames. And it's insane. I think it would work so well as an animation, especially the dynamic parts, the really fast ones.
when they try to convey fight scenes and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, the manga about people that make manga and the anime.
Bakuman?
Yeah, it's Bakuman. And so
This is old, right? This is
yeah. So that came out about it's the same people that make Death Note.
Death Note is also a good
Death
classic.
Note, one of the most popular anime, even still now. One of the classics, like the early 2000s to watch. Yeah, so Bakuman is
2008.
yeah. So it's about these two like duo that create a manga, and it actually is a manga about making manga and people trying to make manga, and that is like super illuminating.
The process is ridiculous.
Dude, it's like-
everything from the drawing to
Yeah.
scanning to publishing. It's just so fucking stressful.
Yeah, and honestly, like when you read a book, you really don't think about how much work that goes into. And I read a foreword on one of the Sanderson novels. I can't remember which Sanderson novel it was, but he basically talked about how his books aren't just him. He's like, my name is like, obviously, like I write the book. But
He
he's
has
like, he's like, my
editors,
name is on the front.
proofreaders.
He's like, he literally thanked at least 40 people, and he's like, there's countless people I'm forgetting, and he has like a whole team dedicated just to check his universe.
Bro, imagine you end up
Like a whole staff.
joining the team
Yeah.
of not proofreaders, but like those
Like making sure
test
that
readers.
something, a plot detail he creates doesn't violate any law that he set forth within his own brick universe.
One
That's
of my
crazy.
favorite critics on YouTube, he came up with, I don't know if it's a system, but some kind of system to keep shows consistent and movies consistent within their universe.
Like a tracker, like a watchdog type of YouTube show?
No, ish. It's Mahler. He just makes these
Okay.
really long criticisms that are.
Oh,
just
okay, so he
really
writes
funny.
articles?
Yeah, no, but he has this one thing that he said once that really stuck out to me, was to have a script doctor, a lore specialist, and what was the third one? Script doctor, lore specialist,
Editor?
and something like that.
Or character tracker?
Basically,
probably?
people who look over your work and
make sure it's consistent.
maintain its
Yeah.
consistent quality.
Yeah.
You know, and that is how you can prevent your story from just falling apart. Like all of the
yeah.
stories that I'm coming in mind that I want to direct, whether it's TV shows or animes, I am thinking of them already finished. I don't want to start and then just
Go as it goes.
go off
Yeah.
the wrong end as soon as I start losing ideas. You know, I want to have
Yeah.
a full story that I want to tell, and then be able to tell that. And through animation, like some of the stories that I have would require insane amounts of CGI.
Yeah.
So animation would help, but it's also so fucking much, and I want to animate to the degree of like some of those really good movies, like Your Name or even fucking Redline. You know, so the amount of money and effort that would still go into that is
It's still in the
absolutely
millions,
insane.
yeah. And, I mean, that's the dream, right, bro?
If I could draw like a mangaka, man.
Oh, dude, fuck. I wish.
Have
I wish
you
I was
have
really
you
talented.
started Sunken Rock?
No, I haven't. I really haven't.
Oof,
Dude, my backlog-
that might be my answer for which anime I would love to see produced.
Yeah.
But specifically, if they produced it,
Yeah, give some context on it, bro. Let me hear about the show.
okay.
It's manga.
So it's by the same dude who made Dr. Stone, but it's completely.
Oh, Boichi?
Yeah, Boichi, but it's completely on the other end. It's just so exaggerated with its with its scale and the character. It's
Like what's bombastic?
absolutely not bombastic in the sense of like explosions and shit, but you have the protagonist who's just
Larger than life?
so much larger than life.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Ken, and he's like a rock. People describe him like the rock Ken. And some of the art is just so insane, and the way he winds up for his punches, or he's swinging a baseball bat.
Yeah.
if they wouldn't animate it to the style of Redline, like each frame flowing through it,
Yeah, well, like they
It
didn't take
wouldn't
shortcuts,
work
and
well.
they really.
it would not work well.
Well, I mean, Boichi as an artist is really known for like his attention to detail and just how like hyper detailed all his art pieces are. Yeah.
Like
So you can see like muscle fibers.
the clothing, the way that it
Oh yeah. Yeah, so he draws like hyper detailed stuff. Well, I got a thread. Fuck. But
yeah, like these animes, also mangas like Berserk that are just so
yeah,
detailed.
they're expensive to produce and animate. It's the reality of
it's
it.
very difficult
To do it
but
right.
I believe that it's possible. It's definitely possible if you give them enough time, resources,
And the talented staff.
and of course the talented staff. I'm pretty sure that the ones that had to animate Berserk 2016 or the 2018 basically only did like moe anime before that.
Yeah, so it did like
Like
slower.
give it to competent and passionate people.
or
One
at least the
Punch
studio
Man
has a track
season
record.
one.
Well, exactly what I was about to fucking follow up
One
with.
Punch Man season 1 is incredible. It brought a whole wave of new anime.
Also on Netflix for people
fans.
that want to access that.
On Netflix, season
First
1.
season, so fucking great. Oh my god.
Unbelievably good. They took like
So like
the
One
web.
Punch Man is already a weird trajectory too. Like
It's so strange. Like it started out as a webcomic by some working dude. Like,
awfully drawn, by the way. Great story
scribbles.
though.
I'll put on some pictures here, but it just absolute scribbles, right? And a manga artist took that, transformed it into, adapted it into this beautifully polished manga, and then this studio came along and created one of the best anime seasons ever.
Yeah.
The music was on point.
The
The animation
animation,
was
the art,
insane.
fuck.
The final battle between the protagonist Saitama and one alien that comes, Boros, insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And then season 2 was
Fuck.
about to be released, right? And the same studio wanted to make it. They were like, okay, guys, give us a little bit of time. We have other projects. We have other things that we want to do before getting onto this one.
Yeah.
And the fan base was just like, no, we want it now. Give us season 2 now. And so
They folded and fucking.
they folded and gave it to another studio that ended up producing it. And the animation,
It's not all like it's an average series.
it's not awful in the sense
but it's,
that
it's such a step down.
it's such a step down. Like you look at some of the art from the manga and then how they translated that into animation,
Oh yeah.
and it made me very sad, man.
Well,
like
it sucks when you see great art.
Metal Bad versus that giant centipede.
Yeah.
In the manga, I have bought most of the volumes. I have them in Greece. I don't have them here.
Yeah, the physical volume.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring these two over in
Yeah?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But yeah, insane. The pages, you just look at them and you're just holy shit the whole way through because of the impact, the action, the quality of it. And then for the season, it's just a giant crawling CG monster. It doesn't have the same impact because they rushed to make it and they didn't have the same passion as the team that made season 1
Yeah,
did.
They also just weren't as talented. The reality of it. I mean, like season 1, just to like describe verbally how crazy it was, is that the webcomic is ugly as hell, but the story is great, and that story got adapted by a mangaka that's super hyper detail oriented, draws hyper realistic panels and illustrations, so detailed that there's one scene in the manga where a meteor's falling and people just took the panels and made like a slideshow at like 60 FPS or something, and it actually turned into like an animation, like a flip book. That's how hyper detailed this guy is. And they took that, to adapt that is really hard as an animation studio, because animation studio, they don't pick the projects, they take them on as like a commission, almost as a job. They don't make money off royalties. Maybe there's rare examples of them doing that, but typically they're just hired to do it, you know? And for the team that was so talented, so passionate, they didn't get people were saying like, oh my god, this anime season must have cost so much fucking money to make. How did they capture the season so well? How did they animate every little detail, every single fight? Everything looked awesome, like top to bottom was so polished, so well done. They were like, this must have cost a fortune. They must have shelled out the big bucks because this is a big series. It was a big, really popular manga series. And then people were like, actually, they came in, like the internet sleuths came in and they were like, well, first of all, the manga really wasn't that popular before the anime popped off. And the studio, Madhouse, that adapted it said that they didn't allocate a differently sized budget. Their staff was just really motivated to adapt this art.
They just really enjoyed the story and how they could adapt to it. They
Oh,
didn't
dude,
think
and they
of as
honored
just,
it.
Ooh,
They
let's
honored
make
it.
some quick money because it's a
Yeah, it wasn't
kind
just a
of-
job. It really wasn't. It wasn't just a commission. They honored it and they fucking killed it. And their hard work and is like an example of animation and adaptation done right. When you look at how it elevated the whole profile of, first of all, the show, the studio, because of the talent, and also like the base story in the manga and in the webcomic, brought everything up, and that's like the best way to do an anime adaptation of an existing source material.
It's like having what makes a source material great ingrained in the core of your adaptation,
Yeah.
but also strengthening it with your own just things that you can put in that just adds so much more juice into the screen. Like I said it before, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
Yeah.
the manga, phenomenal. Araki literally takes inspiration of ancient Greek and Roman statues to create the shapes of his characters.
Yeah,
And,
every character in that show and manga fucking yoked.
Like the first three parts, the characters are based off of powerhouses like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah,
Sylvester
Lou
Stallone.
Ferrigno, they're all
What's that anime? Fist of the North Star, Kenshiro, like that kind of body, just
oh yeah.
hulking.
Everybody's
thing.
just like actually looks like they're just cut. Like they're all built like David.
Absolutely, and
Everybody's
then
jacked.
as the parts go on, those get replaced with more form, poses, fluid muscles. And
Like
such.
everybody's slender.
It's incredible artwork, and the adaptations, they play with the material so nicely. They add explosive colors that change from one scene to the next, and that just tell a
flipping the
much
color
more
schemes.
bombastic.
Oh man.
I love the color switching is just insane, and just another example of just a really nice anime adaptation.
Absolutely. And the thing with anime is that
I think it's about to die soon.
ooh, we're running dead? Alright. Save it for the next episode then. But hey man, this is what it's gonna be like, talking shit about anime, about manga, whatever else we like, and we're just gonna keep going forward and get better from here.
Let's go, man. I am very excited for this.
I'm fucking stoked.
Already, we just talked about...
Yeah, and
Just
scratch
so
the surface,
many
bro.
things.
I can spend hours on shows, bro. One show. Who gives a fuck? We can do whatever we want. This is awesome.
One of these books.
Anything, whatever. I don't
Honestly.
care. Shit, YouTube videos, you name it. I don't know, whatever you're interested in, whatever I'm interested in.
We're gonna do some good...
I'm excited, bro. Journey starts here.
Hell yeah. Alright, my dudes. Galaxy Express.